Hey everyone, it's Marie here from the channel Marie Nicole Designs, and I want to share how to make some fun and easy Christmas cards. I have a set of tags here that I'm kind of pulling inspiration from. I like the whole theme going on with the red, white, black, and gold, and I'm going to show you how to kind of take a color palette, turn them into a set of quick and easy cards. So if you're excited for this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already and tap that bell for notifications. I'm opening up a pack of these Nina card flats here, and Scrapbook.com sells these in a pack of 25. I love these because they're just card fronts ready to go. I'm taking one of these card fronts, taping it to this bold stripes stencil with my mint tape, and I like to tape my stencils from the back side of my card front. That way it keeps my stencils in place, and I can go ahead and just ink blend on the full front of my card without tape getting in the way, and it'll hold it in place. So I'm just taking some of my black hybrid ink here and I'm ink blending it on. Yes, you can take your black ink and ink blend with it. I want some of these bold black stripes on my background. Now, like I said, I'm staying within a certain color palette. I find that if I'm making a bunch of cards at once, or I want to make a set of cards, if I choose a color palette and stick to it, no matter what I do with my cards, they kind of look like they're supposed to be coordinated at the end. So my color palette today is red, black, white, and gold. Very simple traditional colors, but I'm putting sort of a modern design feel onto these cards. And you can see here, after I've gone ahead and ink blended those bold stripes on there, I'm going to go and add some strips of glitter cardstock. Now this is gold glitter cardstock. I've cut these down into about 1/8 of an inch width strips, and I'm gluing these right in between those black stripes. I'm using some smart glue from Scrapbook.com. Now this smart glue, you don't have to push very hard on the bottle at all. It flows really easily, so if you just give it a little bit of gentle pressure, it flows right out, and you can add it to tiny die cuts or tiny strips of paper like I'm doing here. I'm kind of going ahead and just smearing out some of that glue, making sure I'm getting it on the full back of these glitter strips, and I'm just adding them to my card background. So you do want to put the cap back on your glue. It'll dry kind of tacky, so if you get a little bit of a tackiness on the top of your nozzle, just pull it off and you're good to go, but make sure you keep that cap on. I'm trimming off these little strips here on the side to make my background just neat and tidy, and this is background number 1. The way I'm going to do these cards today is I'm just going to show you how I'm building my background, and then I'll show you how I'm adding sentiments on top. So if you like a certain background for your Christmas cards or a few different backgrounds, go ahead, make your backgrounds all right away, and then add your sentiments later. If you do things sort of in batches, then you can make more cards at once. I don't know how many cards you guys send out at Christmas time, but I try to send out as many as I can. Love sending them to friends and family and crafty friends that I've met online. So you can never have too many Christmas cards. And if you end up not sending them all, you can always just save them for next year and be a little bit ahead in your card making game. So my second background here is I'm again ink blending some of my black hybrid ink over this dotted stencil from Scrapbook.com. Again, I taped it from the back side, but this mint tape comes off super easy, so I've never had problems with it tearing. Now, I did only ink up one side of my card front, you can see there. I didn't want to fill up the whole background with those polka dots, and I'm going to go ahead and add some strips of paper again. This time, instead of the gold glitter, I'm using some red paper strips. And paper strips is a really fun way to add stripes and different details to your cards. And it's a great way to use up those scraps. So if you have a scrap bin like I do, and you're always looking for ideas for that scrap bin, go ahead and cut a bunch of strips of paper. So I'm just adding these strips of paper on an angle on the bottom here, gluing it down with my smart glue like I did my glitter gold strips, and then I'm going to go ahead and just trim the sides so that it's neat and tidy. I'm going to try to get some white gold, black, and red on each of these cards. And I'm just kind of switching up what order I put them in. And like I said before, they're all going to look like they coordinate at the end. So just trimming off those edges there. If you find that you're getting some glue on your scissors, what I like to do is take a little bit of a baby wipe, just wipe it off, or you can even take it and wash it with a little warm soap and water. Make sure you do dry your scissors well after you wash them. So I'm also taking this Mod Asterisk stencil from Scrapbook.com, taping it to the background with that mint tape as well, and I'm going to stencil another background. This time for this background, I'm going to do some stenciling, but I'm going to kind of double stencil, so you'll see what I mean. I'm going to take this stencil here, and I'm adding some of my red hybrid ink. Now this is the Cardinal Red from Scrapbook.com. It's a perfect bright red color for Christmas. And I'm just going to go ahead and ink up all of these little designs here. Now this is an asterisk, but it does look like snow to me, so it gives you kind of a modern snowflake type feel. And I like how the design is open enough so that if you want to shift your stencil like I'm doing here and go ahead and add another color or even add some glitter paste or something over the top, you absolutely can. I'm taking some Scrapbook.com metallic ink. This is their metallic gold pigment ink. Now, with it being a pigment ink, when you're stenciling with pigment inks, you kind of want to dab it on a little bit more than rubbing it on. If you swipe too much, you're going to kind of swipe away some of that color and shine. So you just want to kind of dab it on all of these little images here to get a really great stenciled background. Takes a little bit more time, but you'll see after I got this stenciled on, it's really worth it because it adds some really fun shine to your background. So I'm just carefully dabbing on this pigment ink to each of these little designs on this stencil. Once I have that all done, I'll pull off the stencil and let you see the background. Now, with it being a pigment ink, you also want to be aware that it takes a little bit longer to dry than your dye or your hybrid ink. So after you take that stencil off, just be a little bit careful so that you don't smear any of that ink. So here is that double stenciled design. I'm trying to tip it in the light here so that you can see some of that shine. It's a really fun ink. Once you get it all put on there, it does really shine really well. I'm using it on a white background, but if you put it in a darker background, it's going to show up quite a bit more. Now this ink is a little bit hard to get that lid off, but I do appreciate that it fits on there tightly so that keeps your ink pads from drying out. So for my last card background, I'm just taking my ink pad and swiping it across my background here. You can add a little bit of gold ink that way. Gives it a little bit of a light shimmer and shine, and it's really easy to do. You just go ahead and swipe your ink pad across that background. And you could do a ton of backgrounds this way in no time at all. So you can see all that shine from that gold pigment ink. I'm going to go ahead and take my re-inker. You can get re-inkers for this metallic gold. There's also a frost color, which is a white kind of color. You can get that ink pad and that re-inker as well. I'm shaking this up and I'm just going to put a little bit of this ink onto my glass mat. And then I'm going to pick it up with a water brush and add splatters. So I love adding splatters to a lot of my cards. I think it just gives it a really fun look. I am adding just a little bit of water to this ink before I go ahead and splatter it. That just waters it down a little bit so it's a little bit thinner and you can see it's some really great splatters. So I'm trying to keep most of the splatters on the bottom of this card. I want most of the color to be on the bottom with it fading out into kind of a white on the top. So I'm trying to keep it down at the bottom, but when you splatter, it kind of likes to do its own thing anyway, and I do like the randomness of those splatters. So you're going to want to go ahead and set this aside for it to dry while you're creating your other cards. So while it's drying, you can take your dies and do a little magic there, cut them out, and get your stamps all stamped out and build your sentiments. like I said, I'm just going to show you how I'm putting my sentiments together. I'm taking different Scrapbook.com sentiments, stamping them out into little banners. I took those dies, I cut them out, and to save a little bit of time here, I'm doing a little magic with my finger snapping. So you can just snap your fingers, add your sentiments to your cards. I'm also adding a little bit of washi tape here. Just gonna cut the end into a banner. I've had this gold washi tape in my stash for such a long time, I don't even know where it came from. But if you don't have any gold washi tape, you can definitely take some gold glitter cardstock, cut it into a strip, and cut it into a banner if you kind of want to replicate this design. Otherwise, you can do your own thing, add your own things to your Christmas cards, but I want to make this really simple so that I can make a lot of these cards at once and send them out to friends. Now I'm using this Christmas die with my tweezers here, adding a little bit of glue with my smart glue. I like to kind of hold my dies with my tweezers and then add my glue and get it into position before I completely glue it down. That way it gives me a little bit of wiggle room. If it's in the wrong spot, I can kind of tweak it before that glue completely sets. I'm gluing this right over that glitter washi tape, and then with my sentiment strip here, I'm taking some of these foam strips from Scrapbook.com. They've got these foam pieces that are cut into these tiny strips, and they work perfectly if you like doing these little sentiment strips. It takes a lot of the work out of cutting tiny strips of foam adhesive for you. So I really love those adhesive strips when I'm putting different sentiment strips onto my cards. I'm popping up that little "'Tis the Season" banner sentiment strip on my card front. I'm going to trim off the edge, and that really completes this card. It's super simple, just doing a little swiping and splattering, adding on those sentiments, and I'm popping it up with some foam adhesive onto a card base. Now, Scrapbook.com also sells some of these pre-cut, pre-scored card bases, so if you pair those with those pre-cut card fronts, you've got your paper already cut to build some quick and easy cards. So there's card number 1. We're going to move on to the second one, and I'm adding some more sentiments. Now, I've already added that Christmas sentiment die. You've already saw how I did that on the previous card. I want to add some more sentiments to this. So I'm taking this word Fetty Holly Jolly. Gonna just snap my fingers and stamp out this little joy here. I just stamped it, cut it out, and I'm adding it with a little bit of foam adhesive. And that kind of finishes card number 2. You can see by mixing and matching all of these sentiments, you can get some really fun cards, and they're quick and easy. So here's our bold striped card that I stenciled in the beginning and put that glitter cardstock on there. I'm going to use another stamp set. Scrapbook.com has a ton of these Christmas words and stamp sets that you can just use to add to your Christmas cards. I'm mixing and matching these. This is a great one if you like scrapbooking or December dailies, because it's got all of these little label sentiments that are great for documenting your photos. But you can mix and match them up and put them on a card as well. They're really easy to stamp out, and you can just fussy cut them with hand cutting with a scissors, because they're super easy to cut around. They're just rectangles. So I'm adding those with some of those strips of foam adhesive as well. That finishes card number 3, and we just have one more to do. So here's that stenciled background with that metallic ink. Got it on a card base, and I'm going to add my sentiment. Now for this one, I'm using some of my alpha dies from Scrapbook.com. I took those, cut out some Mary, I cut out the word Mary from black cardstock, and I'm just going to go ahead and glue it on the front of my card. So I'm adding these with a little bit of my smart glue as well. I'm just making the word Mary. I've got that Merry and Bright that I stamped and embossed from that other stamp set that I used previously. And I've cut another sentiment strip and embossed the words Merry Christmas. So I popped up that Merry Christmas with foam adhesive, as well as that Merry and Bright. The words that spell Merry are adhered down with some of that smart glue, and that finishes 4 cards. If you go ahead and make different backgrounds, add on some sentiments, keep it all in the same color scheme, you've got a set of cards that work quick and easy. So thanks for stopping by on this holiday paper crafting parade. I hope you enjoyed all of these ideas, and I'll see you next time. Bye!